Mr. Andrew P.
What's going on, buddy?
How you been?
Pretty good. How's your night going?
It's good. It's good. Yeah,
Good.
yeah. I want to start off by saying that we're not weird. We are not
That-
weird.
That's exactly what
We're
someone
not
who's weird would say. Yeah.
weird.
Like that's something a weird guy would say.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I
How
think
have you been?
who did Trump say that to the other day? I saw that he said that in an interview somewhere. He was like, "I'm
Oh,
not
he said
weird."
it like 20 times over the last
I
3 weeks.
think he said it on stage recently where he was like, "I'm not weird. JD's not weird. They're the weird ones." And it's like, it's not. It's just not helping. You should just drop that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, big breaking news that happened a couple hours ago. I don't think it's going to matter at all. But Liz Cheney has officially endorsed Harris, so that'll bring
Liz.
about as yeah, Liz Cheney, daughter of Dick Cheney. She's
Yeah.
the one that she was a congresswoman from Wyoming, and like January 6th broke her. Like she stuck with Trump through all the different stuff he did, but January 6th was a moment where she was just like, I'm done. And then she was a big part of the January 6th committee and investigation. She despises Trump. I don't think it's breaking news. Like anybody who knows her knows she was not voting for Trump, but I guess it's a big deal that she came out and said like she is voting for Harris as opposed to writing in somebody's name. Uh,
Okay.
I think this will matter just about as much as Tulsi and RFK. Like people that are Liz Cheney fans were voting for Harris already. People
Right.
that were Tulsi fans were already voting for Trump. Like I don't think this is doing anything to move the needle. Real quick, poll watch. Have you seen the polls recently at all?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Been
So
in the
it
woods for the last couple days, so I haven't
yeah,
really been paying.
probably more mentally healthy than what I've been doing watching the polls like a hawk. But so the whole like, she's supposed to get a convention bump. Everybody always gets a convention bump. That bump is because of the enthusiasm like that gets generated at the convention.
Oh,
She got almost no bump, and they're saying now it looks like all the joy and enthusiasm was already there because when Biden dropped out and she jumped in, like excitement was maxed out. So the convention couldn't do anything to punch it up any higher. So what we're
but didn't
looking
they
at,
get a ton of money? Didn't they just get a ton of money from the
they've
convention?
raised like a $500 million since she got in or something like that. It's and I wish I should have had it pulled up, but there was a breakdown the other day of all the donors, like for the election committees had to release their donors, and God, that
How many
that
how many starving children across the world could a $500 million
dude,
feed?
campaign finance reform is the answer to a lot of this, like corruption wise. Not going to happen. But yeah, no, like it was funny because like the top Trump donor had given like 175 million to either Trump or his PACs, like mainly to his super PACs. And then he had a bunch of people that were like 130 million, 120 million, 100 million, then a bunch that were in like the 70, 80, 90 million. And then Kamala's highest donor was 42 million, and after that one person, it was a like straight drop off to like small grassroots donors. Anyhow,
Okay.
the the billionaires are definitely with Trump for good reason. They want lower taxes. But
Yep.
polling wise, we got the debate is a week from tonight. So next Tuesday
Okay.
is the debate. So that's like the last chance in my mind that major things are going to move polling wise. Um, Kamala has a lead outside of the margin of error in Wisconsin and Michigan. So that's barely outside of the margin. So I'd say she's up, but not up by a lot. Um,
Okay.
Pennsylvania, she's up. This is the poll of polls. So it averages out the last like 10 polls. Um, she's up 1 point in Pennsylvania, which is margin of error. That's a tie for all things considered. Nevada, they're straight tied 48-48. Georgia, they're straight tied 48-48. North Carolina, they're straight tied 48-48. And
Wow.
Arizona, 48-48. So she's
The
up in,
North Carolina is like kind of
turns
a big
out,
deal.
dude, turns out North Carolina is the whole ballgame for Trump. Like, if he wins all the states he's supposed to win and wins Pennsylvania, he still has to win North Carolina. There's no path to victory for Trump without North Carolina in it. So the fact that it's tied is kind of like Obama won it in '08. I don't know if he won it in 2012, but other than that, like it was thought to be lost. And now Kamala is tied there. If I hate to say like put all your eggs in one basket, but if they go hard in North Carolina, like that's the
Yeah.
ball game. So I
Well,
don't know.
I heard they're going hard in Pennsylvania. I heard they're like they've got like so many what are they called? Campaign um
Offices.
offices. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess it's just offices. And
Well,
Trump has like almost none.
it turns out he has no ground game, which hindsight's 2020, but like the Democrats in the past 8 years have gotten really good at having a ground game, and that's where a lot of votes are generated, going out and registering new voters and canvassing neighborhoods. And Trump has slowly kicked out everybody that was running the RNC, the Republican National Committee, and now who's running the RNC right now?
Laura Trump?
Yeah, it's Eric's wife, Laura, and she's also just put out another single. Her music is terrible. This one, she's like in an alleyway on stairs
Can we
singing.
play that? Can we play that without getting?
I'd say we could at least play a couple seconds of it. After the first 5 seconds, you don't need to hear anymore. But it's odd because she's like running the RNC, which is kind of a big deal, and also like putting out singles for whatever reason. Like just it's grifting. But he put his family members in charge of the RNC, and now like it turns out they don't have a ground game, they don't have field offices. Seems like their
Yeah.
whole strategy, and it might work. Their whole strategy is to put Trump on podcasts, and like they are going hard for the white male under 35. Like that is the
Okay.
group, and he's doing well with them right now. And they're just going
Okay.
all in there. They're going to get enough of those people to vote to counter all the suburban housewives. Is the
How
theory.
is he doing well with anybody? I don't understand how he's like doing well with anybody.
So if you only watch, like there's a lot of people that watch Joe Rogan, Patrick Bet David, Tucker Carlson. Like there's kind of like the podcast world is kind of heavily influenced by like right leaning shows. So if
Yeah.
you don't watch the news, you don't trust the news, you only listen to podcasts, you think that whatever, Tucker or Rogan or whoever say like that's what's, then I can see how you'd have a pretty high opinion of Trump, I guess. So I think
Yeah.
that's Republicans do great with low information voters, and they need to find a way. There needs to be another term for that, because when you say low info voter, it sounds like you're saying they're dumb. They're not. Like if anything, they have a life. They're busy. Like they don't sit around and watch the news all day. Like they're
Yeah.
probably more mentally healthy than people like me that watch the news all day. So low info
Yeah.
voter, I feel like is a derogatory term, and like it needs to be like busy voters or voters with lives. Like that would make more sense.
Voters with
Um,
lives.
yeah, I mean that's what it is. But
Well,
he
low info kind of makes sense just because it's they're not getting a ton of information. So they have low info.
they're not, and
They're
me,
only getting their info from one source.
yeah, or
Like my dad, who only watches Fox News.
well, and that's a different ballgame. I'm talking people that are like not watching the news at all, and they're like what they hear on Rogan or Tucker is the news to them. So there's people like
Yeah.
that. There's a lot of people out there like that. Um,
Yeah. How many people? I guess podcasts are actually surpassing like actual news sources these days.
for certain age groups, like and like the white male under 25 is like very podcast heavy. Like they
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and Rogan gets like I think it's like 2 million listeners an episode, which at first you think, okay, 2 million, that's that what 330 million people in America. That's not a lot. But then you look and like Fox News dominates like the nighttime program, and they get like 3 or 4 million viewers a night. Like so, two
Oh,
million
so
is
they
not
get
like
more than Rogan?
yeah, they get a little bit more than Rogan. I think
Oh,
MSNBC is second as far as news goes, and then CNN gets like barely a million, like a show, like in the evening, and that's enough to keep them rolling, I guess. So
damn.
more people listen to Joe Rogan than watch CNN. So
Well, CNN gets all their money from
from Big
the
Pharma,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, big
exactly,
pharma, big
yeah.
oil,
No,
big
so
whatever you want to call it.
one CNN International like is very well respected everywhere outside of the U.S. Like CNN International is basically funding our domestic CNN, and it's crazy.
Oh,
When I was in Europe, I was in France and Amsterdam. This is 10 years ago, but like I got to watch BBC, Sky News, and Al Jazeera. Those three were in English, and then CNN International was on. And I'll tell you this, even 10 years ago, like CNN International was way different than our domestic CNN. Our domestic CNN is
yeah.
like shows like with people arguing, little sound bites.
You got the
International,
graphics in the
yeah.
background. It's like a wild, yeah,
Center,
wild ride.
CNN International is like PBS or, NPR. Like they're just giving you the news. Like,
Yeah,
so way more trusted.
yeah. I feel like Europe kind of does that better than us. We kind of have this like showmanship to our news at this point.
Yeah. It's all about ratings. Like, and so real quick, we've talked about this in the past week or two. Like, audience capture we talked about a couple weeks ago. You find out what your audience likes and then you lean into that. Like when Rogan started leaning a little right, he found out that people loved that, and when he says anything negative about Trump,
Yeah.
like they don't like that, so he avoids saying anything negative. He's a victim of audience capture. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. Actually, CNN's the one that I think is not kind of in this trap, but Fox News and MSNBC are in that trap. They're not going to have anybody on to say anything bad. They know what the audience wants. I used to get mad at them for that, but dude, what happened like 3 weeks ago when we put up a podcast that had RFK and conspiracy theories in the title?
Oh yeah, we
Twice as many
totally.
views as anything else we've done. A random person found it and was arguing with us in the comments. Like,
I
and
like it. Yeah.
just because it had RFK. So if we wanted to sell out in the name of views, we should turn this into an RFK podcast, and just through the algorithm, more people would see it. We'd get more views. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't know enough about
Oh,
RFK.
we could just go through RFK's life,
Just chronicle the
like a six part series of RFK's life.
the only parts of his life I know are the horrible parts. Like, he cheated on his wife 37 times in a year and apparently wrote about it
Oh,
in his diary. Have you not heard this whole thing?
no.
He I guess chronicled it in his diary. I can't remember the whole story, but his wife found it, and like she ended up killing
Wow.
herself, I think, within a short time after this.
Oh
Uh
shit.
yeah, like he was a serial playboy, I guess, and when you hear it real quick, this is a funny one to me, but like the two people of all the people in politics right now, the two people that keep getting like their names are in different documents involving Epstein are RFK and Trump.
Yeah.
Like Bill
Yeah.
Clinton's in there too, but he's not active in politics. But like RFK like got out ahead of this. Was months ago, but he came out on like Fox News and was like, "Oh, by the way, I flew on his plane a couple times. I've been to his house. He's been to my
I
house.
saw it.
I'm just getting that out there so nobody later finds it." So yeah, it's kind of anyhow.
It's
It's odd,
interesting.
but yeah, when you put that together with he cheated on his wife like 37 times in a year, and okay, bad thing to do overall. But who's writing that in their journal, man? Come on, like you don't put that in writing. My thoughts.
So Trump actually is he being sued or being like I heard that like he raped a 14-year-old through Epstein
So
and she's actually like claiming charges now.
I don't believe there's anything new happening. It's in the court, like different like interviews. I don't know what you call that. Depositions. Different depositions are
Yeah.
getting released as part of the Epstein files. And there's one girl that claimed that like yeah, she was 14. I think Trump and Epstein raped her as her claim.
At
She
the
was
same
part of
time.
I believe she was part of the group of girls that in 2009 Alex Acosta was the name of the like the local prosecutor down there in Miami area, and he ended up getting a job in Trump's cabinet. I can't remember what he was, but like all the Epstein shit blew up, and it turned out like the guy that gave him the sweetheart deal that basically let him avoid any punishment was in Trump's cabinet at the time, which is another weird connection. Anyhow, that
Oh,
guy's name's Alex Acosta. I don't know where he's at today, but
interesting.
all these girls came forward in 2009, and man, it's been so long since I saw the documentary. I'm pretty out of the loop on it, but they came forward. They basically gave their depositions, and then this Acosta guy gave like Epstein like a sweetheart deal of like 1 year house arrest or something along those lines. And these girls were very pissed about it. So anyhow, I don't know how I got on that topic.
Hmm.
RFK, oh, audience capture. Um, by
Yeah,
the way,
raping young children.
yeah. Real quick, I don't even want to talk about this for very long. School's been back for 2 weeks. We've had our first shooting of the season. Like, I don't want to joke about this, but did you see that today?
I did. I
Dude,
did.
I
Or I've
get,
heard about it. My dad actually told me about it.
yeah, all the people like in, pro life, things in, ultra processed foods and all this stuff that's bad. I'm down with all that, but let's also talk about guns a little bit. And I'm a gun guy. I like my guns, but like a 14-year-old walked into a school today and killed two teachers and two students and shot nine others. How does he have a gun? Like, obviously he's not old enough to buy one. His parents, I hope they throw the book at his parents for him having access to a gun. But
Yeah.
anyhow, wanted to get that on record. That
Yeah. I mean, is that the key? Because I don't feel like any parents ever get prosecuted for this. Like, I feel like if we
the
start going after the parents for giving their children access to guns.
the two parents in Michigan, and I can't remember the kid's name, but this was a couple of years ago. They prosecuted both those parents, and I think they found them both guilty. I remember the mom was crying. The mom was trying to throw the dad under the bus and basically blame it on the dad.
Mm.
And anyhow, I think they both got found guilty. But in these cases, anytime and a kid that's too young to buy a gun is in possession of a gun and ends up shooting somebody, like I think the parent should get life. Like it should be the harshest extent of penalties. Um,
Well, life is a lot.
yeah,
Life is a lot. I mean,
I say give it
like
to him.
you have guns and you're very safe with your guns and you keep
Mm-hmm.
them in a safe and you know, your daughter doesn't know the code, but if she ever finds the code out, she has access to your guns.
So if
If
you
she
have a
goes,
safe,
oh, my dad's birthday is blah blah blah, because there's a lot of people who have guns who
yeah,
aren't that smart and they just use their birthday or whatever. Well, my dad's birthday is this, and they just type it in. Like, I
if you
mean,
can prove that you had your guns locked up securely and like your kid or anybody else broke into your safe, then you get a pass. But if you just had
mm,
it in a closet or in a bedside table, then that doesn't do it. So that's where I'm at on that. Um, I've been meaning to ask you about this. I've been laughing. There's been this, you know how like anytime the election gets close, like oh the caravan's coming, and then you start seeing footage of a caravan, and it turns out it's from 6 years ago, and
oh yeah,
this whole Aurora, Colorado Venezuelan gang. I saw
yeah,
it for about a day, hot and heavy. I kept seeing these gangs have
yeah,
taken over 3 apartment complexes. Then the next day, I saw the mayor of Aurora, who's a Republican, and the police chief, who's a Republican, came out and they were like, "No, like this isn't happening." Like, I guess they sent the police and we went door to door at the apartments to check and make sure everybody's okay, and there is no gang takeover. And then
yeah,
the next day, I saw that the Hell's Angels were coming to take care of business.
yeah.
You're close to Aurora, right? Somewhat.
Yeah, I'm like an hour and 15.
What's the vibe up there? I mean, are you guys getting taken over by gangs, or is this all a hoax, or what?
No, 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 no gangs here.
Okay,
My dad brought this up today, actually, and I was
okay.
like, dude, that's fake news. This is totally fake news.
Had you heard of it? Like, were you aware that this was a thing for the past couple of days, or not?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I heard about it. I heard about it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'll go out. Maybe I'll go out and photograph this when the Hell's Angels get here. And then, yeah, and then I went out of town. I was out camping, and then I came back and I was watching something else, and like, I don't know, uh, whoever I was watching, they were like, oh yeah, this is totally fake news. Like, there's nothing actually going on. The police chief just came out and made the
Yeah.
statement, and then I talked to my dad like 20 minutes later, and he was just like, "Oh, how close are you to Aurora?" And I was like, "I know what you're gonna say. It's totally fake news, Dad." Like, I cut
So
him off.
I don't think Fox News was covering that. Is your dad like active on different social media platforms?
No,
Because
I
that's
don't
where it
think he does
spread.
any social media.
Somebody had to have like sent him a link to something that he
I
saw.
think it's Fox News. I think Fox News is the one covering it.
I don't think Fox. I watch a lot of Fox, and I haven't seen them, but it's been on Twitter hardcore, and it's been on TikTok hardcore. I've seen it on Facebook from several people we went to high school with, and even after, like the day after the police chief came out and said this is not real, I kept seeing people post it. And in 2016, there were times where somebody would post something and like from a genuine place of helping, I was like, oh, I know this. This is not real. Let me help this person and comment on their post. And like I would get attacked immediately. And I was like, whoa. So like I've kind of learned my lesson. And like that was
Yeah,
the first time in a while where I saw it and I wanted to be like, hey, I'm going to link the story to the mayor saying this is not real. But I thought about it for a half a second and I was like, nope, like that people are just going to start arguing and I don't even want to help. Yeah.
it's frustrating, Andy. I'm so frustrated. I recently joined social media again,
Okay. Which one? Like, are you
and
back on? Are you all the way in, like on Twitter?
no, I'm not on Twitter.
Okay.
I've never really been on Twitter. Just like Facebook and Instagram, I go on there. Post. I try and just post stuff and leave, but like I get caught up like scrolling and looking at what other people are posting. And man, we come from a crazy place,
You mean like Earth or Arlington, Texas?
Arlington, Texas.
Yeah, it's in moving.
Like these people, the people that we went to high school with are full on indoctrinated into this system of like Facebook and Instagram and like bullshit.
So the thing is, I'd say like 90%, more than 90. A vast majority of them are not. The problem is the ones that are fuck. They post a lot. Like
They're
certain,
vocal. Yeah.
yeah, certain people like if it's the ones that are very passionate about it post all day long, and like there's people that I haven't said a word to physically in how long have we been out of high school? 20 years ish, 23 years.
Something like
There's
that.
people
Yeah.
that I haven't spoken to in 23 years, but for some reason I see their shit every time they post. It's top when I open up Facebook. it's like, why am I getting this person's stuff? I haven't interacted with them at
Mm.
all, but man, I see all the shit they post, and it's very interesting to me. So God
Well,
bless.
yeah, I scrolled across one girl's post and it was like, I don't know, Tim Walsh is being indicted for something. And I was like, huh? And so I just clicked on it. I clicked on her profile and I saw that. And then I scrolled down and it was just like super crazy Republican post after super crazy Republican post. And then I like looked at who was liking it, and there's like 50 different likes, and it's like all our high school friends. And I was just like, oh no. And then I was like,
Yeah,
this is too much.
that's the last person I tried to comment on political wise was 2015. I was during the debates, Hillary versus Trump, and there was a picture of Hillary like bent over after the debate, and you could see a wire running up her back, and it was for her lavalier mic or whatever. And like
Okay.
instantly it became a thing. And like I'm looking at it on Facebook or Twitter, and several people are pointing out like that's her lavalier mic. Like dudes run it up the inside of their sport coat or their jacket, you know.
Totally.
Whatever she was wearing, you couldn't really run it up the inside. It's a lavalier mic. And everybody was like, she had an earpiece in, she was cheating. And it was the one where she beat Trump pretty good.
I
Anyhow,
mean, you can get an earpiece that is wireless,
you would think if they were
first
cheating,
and
they wouldn't
foremost.
run the wire up the back of her shirt.
Yeah.
Either
Yeah.
way, but I commented on it and I was trying to be helpful. And I was like, oh, actually, that's a lavalier mic, you know, blah, blah, blah. Trump had one on too, but you couldn't see it. And this person just went off on me. And I was like, never mind. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm not trying to do this anymore. Um,
Yeah.
and then the other, real quick, you know who Tim Pool is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do you know a guy named Benny Johnson? If you're not on Twitter a lot, you wouldn't know him.
I have seen something of Benny
Okay.
Johnson's,
He,
a few things probably.
there's a couple people that I like. I see them like I think Elon pumps the right wing loud people, so I see them on Twitter a lot. And every now and then I'll click on one of them and I'm like, who is this moron? And then I'm shocked at like the people that follow them that I know, or I'm like, oh, like you're saying, it's like
Uh,
a lot of people we know are listening to this moron. Anyhow, it turns out I don't know if you saw this, the Department of Justice today, Merrick Garland came out. They were unwittingly being used. So I want to make that clear. It appears that they were not aware of this. But Russia was funding this company called Tenet Media. And basically, Tenet Media is a government, as a foreign agent representing Russia, and had Tim Pool show, Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, like all these right wing people. And
no.
the way they first put it out, I thought that like they were saying like Tim Pool and Benny Johnson and Dave Rubin were also like, you know, foreign. And I was like, oh shit, they're going to jail. Like interesting. But then
Oh,
it turns out like in I thought Tim Pool was going to come out and say this is all live, and he came out and was like took a victim statement. He was like, "I'm, you know, according to my lawyers, this is what's happening. I'm a victim of this. I totally had no idea. Like whatever's happening at Tenet Media, I don't know, but like I have total control over my show." And he made it seem like, you know, nobody's telling me what to say. Then I read that part of the stuff, because the Justice Department released all this today. They had a press conference. Dave Rubin and Tim Pool both said like, oh, this, you know, the DOJ leaked this today. And it's like, no, they had a fucking press conference. Like this was a big deal. But there were talking points that like, I can't remember the people's names, but the people that were working for Russia were like feeding their shows talking points. And it was everything we're hearing. The war in Ukraine is Ukraine's fault. Russia, or, you know, Putin didn't want war. He tried everything he could to avoid war. Um,
no. What?
yeah.
What? Who's doing that? I have not heard that yet.
So, man, my mom sent me a deal the other day, and my mom has some crazy friends that are. It amazes me that there's a lot of like 70-ish-year-old ladies running around on TikTok, like getting their information. But my mom will send me stuff and be like, my friend sent me this. Can you look at it? And it was RFK, and the whole thing was about like NATO or sorry, Ukraine is at fault. They're our enemy. Putin tried so hard to avoid this war, and Ukraine wouldn't
Oh,
let him. And I was just like, I had to take a couple seconds, and like I told my mom I watched it, but I told her I said I'll watch it later and I'll let you know because I was enraged and I was like,
what?
it bothers me, and like I pay too much attention to what's going on into history. So when I see stuff like that, I get mad where I'm like, is nobody else like paying attention? Does nobody remember 2006? Does nobody remember 2014? But it turns out nobody really does. I'm kind of a nerd like that. But
Ugh.
it was, and then sorry. I had to call my mom and kind of walk her through it. And I was like, well, you know, and in 2014, Russia invaded Ukraine and took the Crimean Peninsula. And everybody said, hey, Ukraine, calm down, let them have that. Russia, you can have that. Don't take anything else. And then now they come back and try to take the Donetsk region. And it's like, at some
Yeah.
point, you got to stand up. Like, Russia needs to stop invading countries, and that would probably stop this from happening. And I
Yeah.
told you last time about the different treaties that Russia has broken. Sorry, I get hyped up about this right now. And that's if Trump wins, that's going to be the thing that bothers me the most. Is we're going to totally leave Ukraine hanging. We're going to a lot of innocent people are
Yeah.
going to die, like women and children,
A lot of people.
and yeah,
Oh, all the Gazans and all the Ukrainians are just gonna die.
Ukraine
We
has
might
been
even fund Russia at that point, you know?
dude, Ukraine has been begging us since like 2007 to let them into NATO. Just please let us in. Like Russia's going to attack
Yeah.
us, please let. And we keep telling them no. It'll make Russia mad. So no, we're not going to let you. And to this day,
Why? Why do we want to not make Russia mad?
because
Why
we
are we trying
knew
to?
Russia. Putin thinks Ukraine is like wholly part of Russia, and that's what he thinks about all the other
It used to
countries.
be. It used to be.
They so Chechnya and Georgia, Belarus, like all the countries he's already invaded used to be part of the Soviet Union, and he's made it very clear he wants to reconstitute the former Soviet Union.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to do. Uh, but anyhow, yeah, the Ukraine. I got hot about Ukraine, and I think I was like yelling at my mom about it, and she was like, "Calm down, like I'm not the one saying this." And I'm like, "But the fact you're even asking me this kind of bothers me." On that note, Tucker Carlson, do you watch his show at all?
Um, every once in a while, whenever he has a crazy show and
He
somebody else says something, I might watch it, but
he every
not
now and
really.
then he'll have on a good guest. I actually watched one recently with it's a brother and sister, I believe, and they are big RFK supporters, but they were just talking about the bad stuff in food that we eat, and it was all very informative. So good stuff.
Sure.
But then he had a historian on last night, or I guess it aired yesterday. And the guy was like, yeah, like my belief is that Winston Churchill was the real bad guy in World War II. And like Hitler didn't mean to do the Holocaust, but
Oh,
he forgot to plan for all the people he would capture and he didn't have any food for them. So he decided to do the humane thing and kill them. And like,
yeah.
they're like,
Tucker also had on the guy who claimed that he had sex with Obama.
yeah, that's still the funniest thing. That guy, it's like, it made no sense. It was like, yeah, I met him in the back of a cab in Chicago in 2007 or whatever. It's like he was the governor at that time. Like, are you whatever the story was didn't add up in any way. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so this guy and real quick, his whole point was that Germany was trying to make peace with Britain. Like they were trying to do it, and I'll say this: they were trying to negotiate to a place of strength, but they were mid Holocaust. They were already killing Jews. They had violated treaties with Poland, the Netherlands, Norway, and I think Russia. Maybe they hadn't started attacking Russia yet, but everybody they'd made a peace treaty with, they ended up attacking. And then they had already invaded France, and when they invaded France, they went ahead and started bombing London. And while bombing London, they were like, "Hey, we just want peace. Like, you can keep your empire. Like, we're gonna keep killing the Jews, but you can keep your empire." And this guy, but Elon ended up like reposting it and doing a little note like, interesting, like one of his taglines. And then that thing got community noted to hell, and Elon ended up deleting that post, kind of
Okay.
telling people, "Hey, check this guy out." It was like one of those posts. So Elon realized he kind of screwed up there, which is weird because Elon is like Trump. He only doubles down when he does shit like that. So he actually deleted the post and was like, "Nothing to see here." Um,
Huh. Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, Elon keeps talking free speech, but I feel like he's deleting a lot more stuff than the previous regime.
God, I've had a couple people be like, "Oh, like you don't follow Elon," and I'll say, "Oh no, his free speech hypocrisy kills me." And they're like, "What do you mean?
Mm.
What do I? Are you paying?" Like, this is my theme of the night: is anybody else paying attention? Like
No, people don't pay attention.
Turkey, the leader of Turkey, I don't know if he's a president, but Erdogan, uh, he flat out like asked this running up to his election the last time, got Elon to silence the opposition on Twitter. Just anybody that was saying anything negative about the government, and he did it happily because Erdogan is a right wing person. Like he's far right,
Yeah.
Elon aligns. So hey, yeah, help me crush the left, no problem. Modi in India, same thing. Hey, my opposition's talking bad about it. Nope, they cut it down. China doesn't even allow Twitter, and Elon will never say China is the enemy of free speech. Elon will
Yeah.
never say a word about it because they control his supply chain. There's a lot of things that go in his electric vehicles that come from China. And if he
Yeah,
started
yeah,
talking smack, they could fuck him up real quick. So
yeah.
there's more. I can't even think of all of them, but like anytime a right wing country asks him to like censor or moderate content or whatever it is, he happily does it. Brazil had its own January 6th. Bolsonaro, he called himself the
Yeah.
Trump of the tropics. He lost. They had a almost similar to what we had the January 6th thing, but now he's out, and Lulu is the leader now. He's a left leaning guy, and
Heck yeah.
what this all came down to is, according to their law, if you're going to run your social media company in Brazil, you have to have a legal representative. You have to have somebody there that's speaking in the country, speaking on behalf of I guess if you ever wanted to charge them, that'd be the person you'd charge, I guess. And Elon refused. He said, "Nope, I'm not going to put a legal representative down there." That's what it all came
Yeah.
down to. So he's crying free speech, this and that. All he had to do was appoint a legal representative, and he'd still be running. Um, but that being said, he picks and chooses his battles, and it's funny who he'll kowtow to. It turns out, I saw this today, Twitter acquiesces, I guess you would say, to 83% of government censorship requests. So 83% of the time, a government reaches out to him and says, "Hey, we need you to silence this guy." He says yes. The only
Oh.
time he says no is when it's a left leaning type thing. So,
Uh,
yeah.
so interesting, man. I wish these people would just stay in their lane and Elon would just stay off of like social media and politics and Rogan. I wish he would stay out of
Dude,
politics. I wish,
Elon is Rogan's fault. I still like Rogan, but like Elon went on Rogan and Rogan got in his ear about free speech and woke and this and that. And like, I think Elon wants to be cool and he looks at Joe as somebody who's cool and he was like, "Got it. I got money. Let me help you with this." Like, I think Joe did this to Elon and I still like Joe, but
Rogan's the ultimate boomer, man. He's the one
I
he's
saw that on,
absolutely like spewing all the nonsensical information
dude.
on his podcast who gets 2 million views an episode.
I can't remember who I watched today, but it was somebody saying exactly that. They were saying when they do the Protect Our Parks shows are ones I'll always watch because it's Shane Gillis, Ari Shafir,
Yeah,
Mark Norman. I laugh so hard at those. But they were saying that when he does the Protect Our Parks, it's like three kids and a boomer, and they're trying to explain to him what's going on. And it's like, that actually kind of sounds right. Like, I hate to say that, but
yeah. I mean, and he just kind of spews like this nonsense that he gets from, I don't know, Fox News, Twitter,
no, and
wherever he's getting it from. He's getting a lot of weird
dude,
information.
and every time Jamie corrects him now, like he looks disappointed. Like, and he'll try to be like, "Well, are you sure? Because I saw the thing." And Jamie's like, "Nope, didn't happen." And he's like, "Well, let me look here," because it's like he doesn't want to be wrong, but it's like, yeah, he's falling for shit he's seeing online. I think as you get older, it just gets easier.
Yeah.
Like, and what's scary is remember when just a few years ago, we were like, "Oh, our parents are on Facebook and they're getting suckered into all these things. They think they're reading the news, but it's not really a news
Yeah.
site." And like now people our age are doing the same thing. And it's like, oh, pretty soon nobody knows what to trust, which, circling back real quick, TikTok China owns TikTok. And
Yeah.
I firmly believe that with TikTok and then with Twitter, who, Elon owns it, but I don't know if you saw like a couple weeks ago, he had to release all of his backers. And it turns out Russia and Saudi Arabia own Twitter. Like those are the two countries that have the biggest stake in Twitter. So
Okay.
if you want
Wait,
to,
what?
yeah, so Elon doesn't he basically put together a group of money people to buy Twitter. So all his actual investors had to be
Um,
released. You probably find the list pretty easily. But it was all Russian oligarchs and like Saudi oil guys. Like that's who
oh,
owns.
geez.
Yeah,
We don't want them owning that.
dude. So when you look at it, it's like if you really wanted to fuck with a country, what you do is you get people to distrust the media and the government. Like that's step
Yeah.
one. And like TikTok and
Yeah.
Twitter are just doing that all day long. And it used to be you would meet a conspiracy theory type person, few and far between, and they'd be like, "I don't trust anything I see on TV." And you'd be like, that's just one out of 100. And now it's like 50-50. Like you meet a lot of people that are like, "Oh, I don't trust the news." It's like that's China and whoever owns TikTok and Twitter, they're winning. Like, and it's easy. Like they're winning the battle. Is
Yeah.
all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's not a hard battle to win because I mean all you gotta do is put a little distrust in some of the news media and like put out the complete opposite on your favorite app,
Yep.
Twitter.
No, and right now, and I don't know. Like I said, I feel like Elon is definitely screwing with the algorithm. Because I'll talk to people all the time, and it's like you only see far right stuff on Twitter. And maybe he's not messing with the algorithm, and maybe just all the lefties have left, and now it's just far right is on Twitter. But like, yeah,
Mhm.
like that Benny Johnson guy. Like, I don't follow him. I see him all the time. There's certain people I keep seeing all the time, and then when I click on them, in their little bio, it'll be like Elon's the best, or like Tesla guy, blah blah
Oh,
blah. And it's like, oh, there's certain people that just kiss his ass, and he amplifies them. Like that's
maybe we should put that in our bio. Who's the owner of YouTube?
uh, Google owns YouTube, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that's right. So I
And
don't
we
know
should
who
put
owns Google.
Google's the best in our bio.
We just got
So
to
we
start.
can,
You know how Elon's always trying to get creators to come like do their show on Twitter. I'm gonna write him a
yeah.
letter. I'm just gonna say, hey,
Oh, there you go.
we're not saying good things about you, but can we please be on your? He let Don Lemon have a show for a week, and then Don Lemon
That's right.
interviewed him and asked him a couple questions,
Can
and
you write a handwritten letter to
you want
him?
me to do that? Do you want it to be like your
Yeah.
RFK one that was just the middle finger?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
No. All right, and then the other thing on Elon, real quick. Uh, he have you seen this thing where Republicans are trying to basically say they're kind of rolling back the right to vote for women? Like they're not coming right out and saying that, but recently I've seen it should be one vote per household was the thing they were saying a little while ago. Basically, women voters are killing Trump, like especially single women voters. They're killing Republicans in general. So there's been talk of like it should be one vote per household, and then one of them recently said everybody should get a vote, even kids under 18. A 1 year olds get a vote, but that vote should be controlled by the father. So if I have me, my wife, and a daughter, when I go to the polls, I get to vote for three. That was the thing they were saying.
Who's
So
saying this?
this is Republicans, none elected, but like Republican think tank people. So Elon, he didn't say this directly. Elon retweeted, re-xed, whatever you want to call it, but it was basically something explaining that only high testosterone alpha males and high status males should have a say in what's going on. So basically, you should be able to vote. So if you're a woman or a beta male, you shouldn't be getting a vote. And like the
I mean,
trajectory.
I, I heard JD Vance say something about it, but it didn't go that far, first of all. And
Like I
second
said,
of all, like I just kind of blew it off as like this guy's just talking about his ass. Like that's never gonna happen.
no, it's never going to happen. But they're basically kind of they're throwing it out there. They're doing a little test balloon to see, hey, is there any way this is going to bite? And they keep reworking it to see if there's any way that the general public. And what's funny is, and now like you follow those people on YouTube, the Good Liars.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's people, I don't know if it's them, but it's people like them that'll be at Trump rallies and they'll be like, yeah, like so and so says a woman shouldn't have the right to vote. And it's crazy because it'll be women this is a very small percentage of people out there, but they have women wearing Trump shirts that are like, yeah, I don't think women should be able to vote. And I'm just like, what?
Oh no.
What do
Oh
we do?
no.
Well, that's when Hillary was running. There was a bunch. They would always have women at the Trump rallies that were like, "A woman should never be president." Like, what if she's on her period or like some stupid thing like that? And it's like, I expect that out of a man, but you're a woman and you're making that argument. Like, what are we doing here? So that was the end of my Elon rant. Um,
That shit cracks me up, man.
yeah,
Women
Zuckerberg.
vote against their own interests. Like,
I don't get it, but they do it. Zuckerberg came out a couple days ago, and if you saw this, and said that basically wrote a letter back to Congress saying that the Biden White House pressured him really hard on deleting certain COVID misinformation,
yeah, I heard
and
about that.
in said in hindsight he wishes he had pushed back more. And they didn't make him do it, but they definitely pressured his ass into doing it. And then the other thing that he said was about the Hunter Biden laptop thing. And Trump has this thing where he gets in the way of a good news cycle for himself because like that came out, and if you're Trump or if you're his people, you should tell him to shut up for a minute and let Jim Jordan and Republican congressional people let them take this and spin it because it's bad. It's a bad look for the Dems. And Trump immediately afterward comes out. I want to read his whole tweet just because it was hysterical, but he totally got in the way of his own message. What did that moron say?
I mean, it's an interesting thing because the Hunter Biden laptop, I'm not sure if anything's ever come out of the laptop, but it keeps coming back up, right?
So we still don't know what's in the laptop. There's naked pictures of Hunter in there.
Yeah,
And
but hold on. But is the laptop actually Hunter's? Because apparently the guy who turned it over to the FBI was he worked at a computer shop or something, and he was like blind, but he came across Hunter's laptop and like
so
spewed all this information and then like gave it to the FBI, and the FBI didn't release any of the information until
from
except for to some of the Republicans, and the Republicans started like showing Hunter's dick on social media.
whatever's in the laptop must not have been that bad, because even after getting the laptop, the only two things they charged him with was some form of tax evasion and then
Yeah.
owning or buying a firearm while under the influence of, drugs, which is something,
Or lying on his
yeah,
application.
lying.
Like, are you a drug?
So,
It says, are you a drug user? He said no,
yeah.
which,
So those are the two
yeah,
things they charged him with after getting the laptop. So I'm sure there was embarrassing stuff, and that's what Republicans wanted, all the embarrassing stuff to get out there. Like that's what they
yeah.
wanted. Well,
But they keep
apparently,
harping on it. Like they keep harping on it like it's still a thing. Like
well,
they can't get over the Hunter Biden laptop thing.
they
And it's been 3 years, and or no, it's been over 5 years almost now.
I ended up talking politics at my fantasy football draft the other night, which I was drunk. We all were a little drunk, and somehow we started talking politics, which is not smart of me when I live in rural Oklahoma. Um, I was shocked that everybody was kind of like, yeah, I'm a Republican, but I don't really care for Trump. Like that was kind of the gist. Um,
Okay.
but what were we just talking about? Sorry, I lost my train on the. I was
Just the
remember.
Hunter Biden laptop
Okay, yeah.
there's nothing involved, and people just keep bringing it up as like a thing. Like,
So one of the guys there, that's a great dude, was like, if that hadn't been suppressed, there's no way Trump doesn't win. And I was like, I don't think it would have changed any votes. Like, I don't think there were any lefties that were going to see that and then be like, oh, nope, voting for Trump now. Like, at all. I might be wrong. I just don't think it would have really changed anything. But real quick, after Zuckerberg writes that letter, and hey, now Trump needs to shut up and needs to just let the Republicans do their thing and make Biden look bad. Trump immediately tweets, Zuckerberg admits that the White House election was rigged by Fox News, the New York Post, blah, blah, blah. He tags some people. So,
okay, say that again. You kind of cut out there. I think it
sorry.
froze for a second.
He says Zuckerberg admits that the White House pushed to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story and much more. In other words, the 2020
Okay.
presidential election was rigged. So he comes out with that immediately, like declaring victory. I don't know, you haven't put this together yet. I can tell by the look on your face. The Hunter Biden laptop story. Do you remember when that came out? When that was a whole deal?
Was it right before the election?
Right before the election. Who was the president?
Trump.
Who was running the White House?
Who knows? I don't know.
Trump, supposedly Trump,
Fucking.
right? He's in charge. And that's his whole tweet is they just admitted that the White House pushed to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story and much more. In other words, the 2020 presidential election was rigged. You were the fucking president. And that he tweets that almost immediately afterward, and then the whole online focus goes to look how dumb Trump is. Look, he doesn't realize that's his own White House, and he got in the way. That could have been a good news cycle for a couple days for Republicans, and he just had it. He had to go out there and say something. It wasn't terrible, but I kind of laughed. Just like he just ruined a great little news cycle where people could have gotten angry at Biden, and yeah,
Yeah.
couldn't let it happen.
I'm still confused. Like I still don't know. There wasn't anything in the laptop to get it. I mean, besides what he's been convicted of, but like they keep harping on that he's in bed with China. And there's that one email that was like the big guy, and like
Yeah,
who knows who the big guy is? I don't know. It could have been Biden. Who knows?
I think it's extremely likely that Hunter Biden was at like meetings and stuff, being like, "Oh yeah, my dad, he's real involved." Like I guarantee you, he
Yeah.
was using the fact that his dad was Joe Biden to get
Yeah, as
deals.
he's like,
Yeah, 100%. And I think if we're real about it, let's see, the Trump kids, would they be anywhere without their father's name? Probably
no.
not. Hillary Clinton, I don't know what she's running the Clinton Foundation, whatever. She's probably a millionaire. She would not be that if her parents weren't the Clintons. One of the Bush daughters, I don't know if she still is, was a host on Good Morning America for a while, I guess.
Oh,
Jenna Bush, maybe. Would
okay.
she have ever been a host of Good Morning America if her dad wasn't President Bush?
No.
It's
No.
kind of the name of the game. So if we're mad that he got,
McCain's daughter too.
oh yeah, Meghan McCain is very popular. Simply for the fact that her dad is John McCain. I mean, that's the reality of it. So if the whole
Yeah,
argument is that Biden used the fact that his dad was the president or the vice president in order to make more money, damn, you got him. But also, you got every other famous person's kid. It's not even like a government. If you're an actor's child, you have a better chance of becoming an actor yourself because your parents have the right
sure.
connections. So
Yeah, you have connections.
yeah,
Nepotism.
nepotism. Yeah, it's exactly
Yeah.
what it is. So, um, last thing, have you been? I know you said you've been in the woods. Have you been seeing what's going on in Israel, man?
No, I have
Okay,
not.
let me catch you up real quick. First of all, Israel invaded the West Bank, so they've already kind of flattened most of Gaza, but then they sent
Yeah.
in tanks and are going after the West Bank now. Um,
Is that where everybody's going? Has
no,
people been
so that in Gaza, and I'm facing the wrong way. Gaza's on the east side of the country. They told everybody to evacuate the north and go to the south, and they started like blowing up block by block the whole way down. And then they got to where all the people had gone and just kept blowing it up.
Yeah.
Now the West Bank is on the other side of the country. It's
Uh,
confusing because Gaza's right on the Mediterranean. They call it the West Bank because it's the West Bank of whatever river is the border right there between Israel, the West Bank, and Jordan, Jordan, I believe. So it's the
okay.
West Bank of the river. So when they say from the river to the sea, they're talking about the whole of Israel, and
Uh,
that's apparently
okay.
a hate speech to say from the because if you say from the river to the sea, you're calling for the destruction of Israel. Is how I understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't make much sense, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Anywho, so they went into there. They ended up there was a set of parents that spoke at the DNC whose child was over there, and it's crazy. I saw a video of the other night, but he got his whole arm blown off. He was hiding somewhere, and the terrorists threw a grenade in on October 7th, and he tried to pick it up and throw it back out, and got his whole like lower arm blown off. And there's
Shit.
video of them like putting him in the back of a truck, and they like wrapped it like tourniquet style, but his arm is just missing below the elbow. Um,
Huh.
but yeah, his parents spoke at the DNC. It was real touching. They were calling for a ceasefire and get the hostages back. That kid, along with five others, got found dead just a couple days ago. Um, so the people of Israel are like hundreds of thousands of them in the streets calling for Netanyahu's head. Like
I did hear about this. Yeah.
they're holding him responsible. They want him to apologize. They want him to get a ceasefire right now. I watched an interview he did today where he was like, if I do that, that's exactly what Hamas wants. Like I'm gonna that they would immediately regroup and gain strength and this and that. So I have to keep my foot on the gas. And he's basically saying at this point we're not going for a ceasefire. Like we're just gonna make sure and eliminate Hamas. So hostages be damned. He had a 70% disapproval rating, and now people are rioting in the streets. The opposition leader is calling for all these different like labor unions to just go on strike right now and basically shut down the economy. If that happens, I don't want to say nothing's for sure, but if that happens, that could be the end of Netanyahu. Like he might have to leave the government. Like if the people shut down the economy,
Good. He's a war criminal.
yeah, me and you,
Capture him and ship him to, I don't know, the UK, wherever. Where is what's the big um war tribunal, the World Tribunal?
they do that in
Where's
like the
that? Where's
Netherlands,
that?
the World Court.
Road Court. Yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
ship
it's
him
not.
there.
I don't think it's Amsterdam, but it's somewhere right around there. That's where like
Hog time. Ship him
yeah.
there. Let's get rid of
Well,
Netanyahu.
it could happen. I mean, that's what it's looking like right now. And me and you, we went back and forth at the very beginning. This has been going on since October, so we're coming up on a year. But we would argue where you were taking the far left pro-Palestinian stance, and you were like, "This is ridiculous." And I listened to a bunch of people on podcasts that were saying, "Hey, actually, this is how they're going to get the lowest casualties is by using targeted
Like killing
airstrikes."
40,000 Palestinians. Yeah.
I really tried to make the case because I was telling you if they try to go in invasion force style, more civilians are going to die, street to street fighting, like. And a lot of people made that argument, and they seem to have the numbers to back it up.
How many schools and hospitals have they built bombed?
I,
Like,
I can't defend Israel anymore. Like I
no,
really I won't even try.
no
Like
defending.
they accidentally hit a hospital, accidentally hit a school, and it's like you kind of keep giving them the benefit of the doubt, and then they keep
Yeah.
accidentally hitting, apartments and clearly civilian targets. And at a certain point, like you can't try to
I
defend
think
that.
they've bombed 30 schools and like 20 hospitals now.
One
Like,
and here's I'm not trying to defend Israel, but like they'll come out and say oh well, Hamas uses churches, schools, hospitals, whatever. They use those as a base because they know we won't strike there, so we have to strike there. And they are right. Hamas
Yeah.
totally uses human shields. But if they set up in a school full of kids, you can't blow up the school. You got to find another way to do it. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
like so. I'm kind of at the point where we need to figure out real quick because remember we were talking a couple of weeks ago about kids that at these pro-Palestinian rallies, and there'll always be a certain small group of them that are like pro-Hamas, and it's because they don't know any better, they don't understand the difference.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
were talking about this. We need to figure.
There's not a lot of them. More people are smart. People are smarter than that. Like it's
I,
not Hamas.
I like I said, small percentage at those rallies, but I think it's up to those protesters to educate those small dumbass percentages. We got to figure out a language we can all agree upon right now, and this is a there's certain subjects that are just tricky to talk about, and you're afraid, I don't want to say something wrong and get in trouble. If you say, like, I'm not with Israel right now, it's so easy for someone to say, you're an anti Semite, like, you hate the
Fuck
Jews.
them.
No, there needs to be a clear definition of, like, I have no problem with Jewish people. The current government of Israel, I don't like what they're doing. Like, that we need something needs to happen. And I get the whole they have the right to defend themselves thing, like 100%. They can't keep blowing up civilian targets like it. So
No, it's absolutely possible for you to, you know, not like Israel and still like Jewish people.
no,
Like there's not like a line where you
we
cut it
know
off
that.
like
I think everybody knows that. But if you say, "Oh, I don't like what Israel's doing," like if you're a person, if you're a media personality, if you're anybody somewhat famous, if you say that, like you're gonna get blacklisted. I don't know what the right word is, but like you cannot come out against Israel. You'll get labeled an anti-Semite, and that's
by
what I'm
who
saying.
though? By who?
By the mob.
What mob? And who cares? The
In this
online mob?
in this
The
case, it'd
people
be a Republican mob.
in their basements, the kids in their basements
I'm just
typing
saying
shit out.
they're
Like there's it doesn't matter. You should just say how you feel and like speak your truth. Like no matter how you feel,
we
like
like I
just
said,
let it all out.
we
Like
need to find
and
a
Israel is doing bad shit. It's not great.
I feel you, I'm hearing you, and I agree with you, but I'm saying we need to find a way, a safe word where we can say this, but everybody knows I'm not saying I don't like Jews. I'm just saying what Israel's doing is wrong. Like we need as a society, we need to agree upon a certain way to say that to where people know you're not anti-Semite. Fuck Israel. That's kind of where I'm at. Fuck
I don't
Netanyahu.
like the genocidal Israelis.
Maybe it's just targeted to Netanyahu. Screw Netanyahu. I fucking hate that guy. But
Well,
I like Israel, and I think it has a right to exist and all that. I think there should be a two-state solution. But fuck Netanyahu. That's kind of where I'm at. So he's
I'm on board,
yeah,
man. And you should be able to speak out against that without being called an anti-medic
dude. It's a scary thing
or
to
whatever.
yeah. You
Yeah.
can't you gotta watch what you say when talking about Israel. It's yeah.
I don't care.
I know
I'm
you
not
don't. Yeah.
I'm not like if you want to yeah, if you want to argue with me about that, I'll argue with you about it all day.
Yep.
Because what Israel's doing right now is horrible. Like,
Yeah.
but
100%.
like the Jewish population in America is mostly against what they're doing too. And obviously the Jewish population is in Israel is against what they're doing too.
Yeah.
So
It's still crazy to me. Apparently, more Jews in America vote Democrat than Republican. I don't know why.
yeah,
It feels like it's the other way around, but apparently, like 60% of
no,
American Jews vote
they
Democrat.
know that the economy is better under a
Yeah.
Democrat.
Did you see what Goldman Sachs put out? Sorry, switching gears to the economy. Goldman Sachs, who is Wall Street, so I don't like Wall Street either. But they came out with their projection of the Harris economy versus the Trump economy, and they said the Harris economy would be like a lot better than the Trump economy based off their economic plans they put out so far.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
and
obviously, obviously.
that's another one of those weird, like, are Democrats really better for the economy? Like, as more and more evidence is pointing that way. Yeah.
Why is anybody voting Republican? There's no reason to vote Republican. If you're voting Republican, you're not paying attention.
What if
That's what I'm
you're
saying.
what if you're
All of
very
you people out there,
what if you're
like and
very
subscribe.
very religious and pro-life? Then I get why you're voting Republican. I don't agree necessarily, but I get it. So I mean, there's reasons. There's just the reasons to vote Republican you don't agree with. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, but they don't bring those issues up. Very rarely do they bring those issues
I
up.
think the pro-life people talk about it a lot.
The pro-life people are.
Yeah, they're an exception. They're there strictly for that. Which did you see Trump for 12 hours, maybe 18 hours this week? He was kind of pro-choice. Did you see that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I say 6 weeks is much too short. It needs to be longer than that. And he gave an answer that I think is where he was trying to figure out where middle America was. It wasn't a bad
He was,
answer. Dude,
yeah, he
the
was
pro
trying to
life
give the populist answer,
the pro life people like immediately were not cool
and
with
he went,
that.
"Oh
And
wait."
I guess real quickly, like the thought that they might sit out the election was more than enough. Where he came out the next day and was like, "No, let me make it very clear. Like, I don't believe in any form of abortion." But like up until then, he was using phrases like reproductive rights, which is like no Republican talks about reproductive rights. That's a lefty
Right.
thing. So he,
Yeah.
I think he realized the abortion thing is really hurting him. I gotta think his internal polling is bad right now, like worse than what we're seeing,
That was
or
horrible, horrible.
maybe he's just tied, but he knows he's going to jail if he loses. So maybe that's enough. But he came out today and said he wants to legalize weed.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
That's
That was
crazy.
on, was that on Lex Friedman? Lex Friedman had the podcast.
So I listened to Lex and him. It's nice to know that Trump lays
It's
in
bad.
bed. Trump lays in bed reading Truth Social and reposting stuff. Like that's like you remember when he was always posting as president, it would be like 2 a.m. and he'd post something on
Uh,
Twitter and it's like, what is he doing up?
and
Apparently
Melania doesn't sleep next to him.
no, they have
Melania is in a
separate
completely
yeah,
different bedroom.
they have separate wings. That's not even separate bedrooms. They're on the
Yeah.
opposite sides of the complex. But yeah, no, it's like there was something where I was like, oh, he's just like us. Like he lays in bed at night and like
I
reads
don't do
Truth
that.
Social and just repost
Don't put me
stuff.
in that category, bro.
Sorry. Well, he's like most people that just looking at the phone before I go to bed. Um,
So also let's go back to the reproductive rights.
okay.
So the Trump Vance campaign has been going back and forth on IVF a ton.
He's saying IVF mandated that your insurance pays for it, which
Oh,
is
that's right. Yes.
no Republican's going to let that happen. Of all the things that in every election, both sides say some stuff that that's never going to pass, but they're just saying it. The Republicans will zero of them, actually two of them, Murkowski and the two women. I can't remember the name. Anyhow, the two women that are senators, they'll vote for that. The other, however many Republican senators, are not voting for that at all. They just had a vote like a month ago to guarantee the right to IVF, and 48 Republican senators voted
Yeah.
no. Okay, you don't even have the right to do it. And now Trump's saying
Yeah.
not only can you do it, but we're going to make your insurance pay for it. Not happening. But that's another indicator that like man, he's not confident right now. I don't want to say he's afraid, but he
No.
is not confident at all. They were closing campaign offices in certain states. New Hampshire is one of them because they're having to consolidate down. Like they have to shore up what they have, and they have to win. I guess they have to win North Carolina and Pennsylvania, where everything's so close right now. It's pretty much a tie, but it's interesting because just a month ago it was like, man, Harris, she's got limited ways to get to 270. Like she's gonna have to do exactly this. And now Harris has like 6 different ways to 270, and Trump has like one path, and he has to run like a straight. Like he's got what do they call it? Like an inside straight or whatever. Like he's got to pull
Okay.
that off to win it. He's got to win North Carolina and Pennsylvania that are both tied. Georgia, he's got to win, which is tied, and then Nevada or Arizona. So he's got to win 4 out of those 5 that are all tied right now. And
Like I
also,
said, Trump's not going to win.
are you?
I have zero faith in Trump winning this election. I just don't think that there's that many dumb people in America that are going to vote for Trump.
I'm sure they love hearing that. I hope they're listening right now.
Yeah,
Of the 30
chime
people,
in, make a comment.
yeah. Are you willing to say now, at least though, that it's not going to be the blowout you once thought it was, or do you still think it's going to be a blowout?
I think there's a chance there's a blowout. Like, what's a blowout? Honestly, what's a blowout? I just think that hands down, Trump. Like, there's no way Trump's going to win. Like, I don't
So
think.
with the electoral college, it can be odd because you could win 312 electoral college votes, which makes
Let's
it look
get
like
rid of the electoral college
I
first of
agree,
all.
but it makes it look like it's a blowout because it was 302 to 230 or whatever. But then you look and like the couple states that decided it were razor thin, so it's not really a blowout. So it's hard to say. I don't see a blowout at all. Like right now, even saying that
When
she's
was the last time a Republican actually won the popular vote?
they've done it once since Reagan. Yeah.
George Bush?
I think it was George Bush 04 because we were in the middle of the
Okay.
Iraq war.
Oh.
So you're in the middle of a war, and we were all like, remember that was when we had flags and we were like, yeah, kill all the
Yeah.
Arabs. Like, that's dude. There's certain things from our past that I look back at and I'm so ashamed of. But I remember after 9/11 in my big K5 Blazer, I had a sign that I stole from somewhere that it was a sign, a place that was selling rugs, and it said Afghans 3.99 or discounted Afghans or something like that. And I
Oh
took that little
gosh.
sign and I put it in the front window of my truck, and it was like, yeah, screw all the Afghans. Like I was very pro war. Another thing, do you know any Jewish people today?
I do.
Okay, do you communicate with them often, or you just know who they are?
Um, let's see. No, I don't communicate that often.
Okay, because I learned thinking about this Israel, criticizing Israel without being anti-Semitic is kind of what I've been thinking about recently. And it's like
Hmm.
I wish I had a decent, a good friend that was Jewish that I could like have this conversation with and be like, hey, I don't have any Jewish people in my life at all.
They would be on your side. They're all on your side,
Yeah,
man.
I just don't know any. I gotta like go out of my way
There
to
are
find
there
one.
are, I feel like there's a few people who are like, fuck them, kill them all, which is what I had a conversation
Of
with a guy at a bar a while back. I told you about that.
Hold on, he was saying that about Jewish people, or he was
Yeah.
saying that about the
No, he was saying that
Palestinians.
about the Gazans,
The Palestinians.
Palestinians. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Was he Jewish?
Yeah.
Okay, I believe that. That's what
Yeah.
Kyle Klinsky had there was a show. The show's like called like Two Good Jewish Boys or something like that. It's a podcast. It's probably got about the same amount of listeners as we do. But they on the podcast were just like, yeah, screw them. I hope they all die. Like right now they basically paused the fighting in Gaza to go in and give them polio vaccines because apparently there's an outbreak of polio there.
Oh shit.
So they paused the fighting to go in and vaccinate everybody. And these two
In
guys were like
Gaza or
in Gaza.
oh geez.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but these two guys were like, screw them, like, let them die of polio. Like, I hope every man, woman, and child dies of polio. And like, it was supposed to be shocking, but it's like, no, I bet there's a lot of Jewish people that like, they hate the Palestinians. Like, what happened on October 7th, they will never forgive. So, it's an interesting thing.
No, I mean, yeah, what they did, what Hamas did on October 7th was horrendous, and there should have been a retaliation, but obviously, what is it, 200 deaths and 200 hostages or something, like
The numbers,
versus 40, what is it? I mean, the number's probably like 50,000
no, so
Gazans,
the
mostly women and children. Like, let's,
the most recent numbers I've seen is that so it was 1,280 that were killed on October 7th. So some just under 1,300, I believe, is what
okay.
was killed on October 7th. So 1,300 killed by the Palestinians or by Hamas, and then
Hmm.
the Israel is saying that it's 16,000 innocent civilians dead, and the Palestinians are saying it's like 35,000. So it's probably somewhere in between there, probably in the 25,000 range. Now,
Yeah.
Hamas fighters is like another 30,000 or something like that. They've claimed. So there's a
Yeah.
fun game with who is a Hamas fighter and who is not. So
35,000 innocent civilians.
that's what Hamas is claiming, and Israel is saying it's like 16,000.
Hamas is claiming. I mean, or I guess Hamas is in charge of Gaza still.
Hamas runs the I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, they run the government basically.
Yeah, there's got to be a better way. We got to get Hamas out of that government, and then we have to,
Well,
yeah,
this is what me
something.
and you used
I
to
don't
talk
know.
when back in the day when you were talking about Israel bombing them. You said we just got to go in and get Hamas out, and that means a ground invasion. Like which they're kind of already at that point. They flattened it and sent the
Well,
troops in. But if you do a ground invasion, like the theory is that just as many, if not more, innocent people would die in a ground invasion than by doing targeted strikes. That's the theory. I'm not saying that's right, but and they use like us going village to village in Iraq and Afghanistan and the street to
yeah.
street fighting, and that's how they kind of came up with these numbers. But yeah, street to street, knocking on doors, innocent people getting killed left and right. Like that's just
I thought they
there's
had the best intelligence in the world.
they do, and that's how they know that they're using human shields in these like hospitals, and then they're blowing them up. They got the intelligence. They're just making a calculated decision of, hey, we could get we could get 10 Hamas fighters, but we got to kill 30 school kids. And in their mind, they're like, do it, hit the button. Like that's worth it. Because
Yeah,
they,
it's because Israel hates Gazans. Like it does. It's not
Palestinians,
Hamas. They hate Palestinians. Sorry,
yeah,
keep saying Gazans.
you do. It's not
They
a
hate
thing.
Palestinians. There's
Yeah,
there's an actual like hatred between the two. Like yeah,
hardcore.
and they
Yeah.
yeah,
The
and they
Palestinians,
really they don't see them as people. That's the thing.
here's the problem is they hate each other because like there's plenty of videos you can go online and find of like a 4-year-old Palestinian kid in Gaza and they're interviewing him. He's like, death to all the Jews. Like I want to kill them with my knife. So
Yeah,
it's both sides. It's not like the Jews hate them and the
yeah.
Palestinians are like, why don't you like us? No, they both think that's their country and they want to kill everybody on the other side to take back their country. They're
But the Palestinians have been in open air prison for how long now?
20 years. It's since more than that,
Yeah,
25. I
yeah.
mean,
You would imagine that they would have a little bit of a hatred towards.
anybody who's born into Gaza, by the time they're 10 to 12, like they hate the Jewish people with all their heart and
Yeah.
they want them all to
Well, they won't
die.
let them open up bakeries or like they kind of control their water supply, their electricity, all the stuff. Like,
The water issue is Hamas's fault. And I'll say this, Israel did a project to get them clean water. So they installed water pipes and all this. And as soon as they installed it all and left, Hamas came in and dug them up and cut up the water pipes to basically turn into missiles.
oh,
So this was 10 years ago, but Israel did a
was
whole
it,
spent
is this fake news from 10 years ago?
no, this there's video of them
Okay.
celebrating doing this. Like, so yeah, they spent a lot of money. They spent a lot of money because there was a
Clean
problem.
water, we're making missiles.
Dude, there was a problem with a lot of people in Gaza being sick from the quality of the water, kind of like going to Mexico.
Yeah.
So that they spent a lot of money to make sure that the Palestinians were getting good water. And as soon as they did it, Hamas dug it all up and turned it into weapons. So
Well, what is it with the bakeries? Like, why won't they let
I haven't heard the bakery thing.
I've heard it a couple times, and I haven't looked into it. I don't know much about it, but apparently, um, Israel does not allow them to have bakeries.
I'm gonna look at that.
5 minutes left, bro.
Mm, yeah, I mean, it's talking here about bakeries reopening in Gaza. Oh, fuel. They says they can't open because of fuel shortages, so that makes sense. They cut off their electricity, their propane, their gas. Like they're starving them out.
No,
So,
this is
oh
pre-war. This is
yeah,
pre-war.
you'll have to look into
Anyway,
that
we
one. And
got
yeah,
4 minutes left.
okay. I think it's time to sign off, sir. We've talked about enough stupid stuff for the night.
All right, let's cut this off. Good to see you, man. I'll
All
talk
right,
to you soon.
have a good night, buddy.